Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Meher Baba.
Frances Brabazon was an integral part of her life, and in a small way he was a part of my life as well. And I used to write poems to Baba all the time because he used to say, "Don't write letters to me." But he never said, "Don't write poems to me." So I would send poems and I would get cables back. So then when I finally wrote a number of poems and put it together in a book called In Lap of Love, it was sent to Baba. Baba sent me a special message for the book and he signed the first copy. But before that, Erich was very anxious that Frances Brabazon would mentor me. So he would pass on these poems to Frances, and he was a great poet. I was a 15, 16-year-old boy, but Erich was very curious that he would, he was very anxious that I would. So when I was there on May 4th, 1965, Erich egged me on to go and talk to Frances privately. So Francis was not always the most cheerful looking man. He always had a kind of an angry look on his face. So you were always a little intimidated by him. So I went up and I said, Francis, you've had the opportunity of reading my poems. So he said, yes, yes, yes. And then he says, who have you read? I said, well, I've studied Milton. He said, well, the first thing you need to do is throw Milton over the precipice. So the beginning of my relationship with Francis was a little shaky. But then we went on, it was a nice meeting. And then when he left for Australia, he left his entire collection of poetry books to me. So that was just a little thing, which Dinah is not here to hear this. So you see this strange-looking picture on the screen. That was a beret that was made by the women Manli. Now, everything that the women Manli made during the new life, it had to be sold. So this was bought by my mother from them. And then Baba moved into the house across the road from me. So every time that Baba came over and had a cup of tea, my mother would put glasses away, cups away, everything away, soaps away. Anything that Baba touched was put away. She was the first archivist for Calamities. And then my father added to this. This is a garland that Baba would put around his neck when he gave darshan on September 7, 1950. So those were the various different times when the family was able to collect this. So I was talking this morning about that Baba was in Marjorie Mafi. I showed you pictures of Marjorie Mafi and so forth. So he was there. Now it has been named Meher Mafi, the house, Shatrughan's house where Baba stayed. After he decided that he had to move, he had to then go to Delhi. But the house in Delhi was not ready. So Baba asked my father if he could find a house. And he found one across the road from us, ours was 36 Lytton Road, which was the headquarters of the New Life, and this was 29 Lytton Road. So this is, these pictures you've seen for the first time. This is a picture of Baba outside the entrance of 29 Lytton Road. This is the entrance. Now, when my father first met Baba, he was not used to his ways. And Baba would then call him and instruct him to do things. For example, once when he was, he had a shop called Singer Sewing Machine Company in Dehra Dun. And so he was always in a different line of work. Never in the kind of work that Baba wanted him to do. But Baba would Baba's methodology was he would bring you closer and closer by giving you assignments. So he called him one day and he said, I want you to bring 5 people who are not wealthy, not poor, middle class, who would not stretch their hands out to beg. Now this was a tough assignment for my father, Keki. Where would he? So he would go and search for them, he would try and look for them, he would get them, and then they would not come, they would promise to come, and then they would... So Baba gave him 7 days. So at the end of 7 days, he was so flustered, he didn't know, he could not get these 5 people. Baba said, I'm going to give you 1 week more, 1 more week. So he worked extra hard. See, that's why I was saying earlier in the morning that Baba gave you impossible tasks, but you always found a way of accomplishing them. So he worked extra hard and finally he found these people. And this is a picture of these people, Baba bowing down to them. So he washing the feet of them. This is washing the feet of the poor. Baba's explanation for washing the feet of the poor was that he was alleviating poverty amongst the poor. And this is bowing down to the poor. He would wash their feet, he would bow down to them. And Baba rarely touched money. The only time he touched money was when he was giving it to the poor. So this was a little service that my father would call upon to do. Then when Baba moved to 29 Lytton Road, which was across the road, he would visit us often at 36 Lytton Road, which was our house, and also as I mentioned, the headquarters of the New Life. This is Meher Baba once visited us and spent time with us, and my father requested him if he could pose for a photograph with him. So you see my father Keki with Meher Baba. This is Meher Baba in the courtyard of 29 Lytton Road, which was at the back of this place. This house belonged to a magistrate, and it was rented for Baba. Like for example, one day Baba said, when you prepare the house, prepare a little a place where we can cook something. So my father, poor man, didn't have any idea how to go about doing this. So he made something. So Baba said, I asked you to make a fireplace for wood to cook something, and you've made a latrine. So that was, and this is another picture of Baba talking to one of my uncles at the back of... I wanted to show these pictures to you and share them with you. These are New Life pictures. So then the New Life caravan had come in Benares, and that was being brought. So this is the New Life caravan, and this is just outside our home. And these 3 men over there are my uncle, Ilcha Mistry, who some of you have met. I know Alan has met him. Another uncle of mine, Barjur Chacha, and my father. And they were then trained to use the bullocks, and this is the picture of the New Life caravan with the companions. And this is the inside of the New Life caravan. Now, the reason these caravan existed was because the 4 women had to rest. So you can imagine the space that was allotted to them. So one woman invariably had to sleep on the floor. So this is the monthly residence as Majli Mafi. The Mandli lived there. These photographs were taken by my father. The main Mandli lived here in Majli Mafi. That has been renamed Meher Mafi. And then there was no water, so my father asked that a well be dug, and a well was constructed for the Mandli. But while this was being prepared, the Mahant is the head of the Hindus in that particular area. He's called the Mahant, and he's revered, and people bow down to him, and he gives out grains, and he's considered a wealthy man, but he's also a religious man. So that man came in contact with Baba and allowed and gave his house for Baba and the Mandi to stay for a short period. Then my father requested Baba, Baba, could you please visit my shop? And so you see Meher Baba walking through the bazaar in Dehra Dun, the Paltan Bazaar as it was known. And then he is seen entering the Singer Sewing Machine Company. Now, I want to tell you a story about my father. This is an amazing story. You're going to love it. For the simple reason that what Baba told my father, people have requested me and framed it in their homes. Baba's response. So what happened was that the Singer Sewing Machine Company was closing down its operations in India. And my father, who was never an entrepreneur or was very afraid. He had a wife, he had 2 children. He was absolutely devastated when they told him that you take over the entire stock of the inventory from Singer Sewing Machine Company or you're out of a job. So these were the 2 options given to my father. So my father wrote the most pathetic, sad letter to Baba. He was in his 40s and he said, oh, I'm getting old, I don't know what am I going to do, I have a wife and children, I'm in dire straits. So Baba, what he did was he would usually send the cable first, always, and then he would say letter follows. So he sends a letter to my father, don't worry, all will be well, God is Malik, God is supreme. And then the letter arrives. Now this is dictated by Baba. Have no fear at all. Our God is almighty. He's the Lord and He will make you dance according to His wish. You must start your new business without a second thought or any worry, just as you said in your letter. Then when the company wound up, he had a lot of inventory, so he bought over the inventory and started his own business. Why don't you become the boss in single quotes, since my nazar is on you? Now there is a little digression for the word boss. When Baba was in Dehra Dun, my father would nudge Bible to tell Baba to make him the boss of Siddhartha. So, Bible would say, he couldn't pronounce the word boss, so he says, Baba, can you make him the boss? And everybody would laugh, Baba would laugh, but never give an answer. So this is a reference to why don't you become the boss? What are you afraid of? Have hope, have courage, be courageous, and carry out your work successfully. Where there is honesty and purity of heart, there is God. So don't give up this company. Why are you worried about old age now? You have to grow young now. Do not be afraid. The plan you have outlined should be put into practice and get ready to be the boss. So my father was very enthused with this letter, and he then started his business as an entrepreneur, did very well, and then retired, and then passed away several years back. So then, spontaneous from Baba, spontaneous. So,
Naosherwan, do you still have the letter? Do you still have the original letter?
yes, somewhere, okay. But in the archives. Okay. Yeah. So then, what happened was that Baba then decided that they were still in Machi, but they decided that 29 Lytton Road would be converted into Dr. Donkin's dispensary. Because he had to earn money, everybody had to earn money. But we were the only patients, my mother, my father, and myself. So he was always, I distinctly remember Dr. Donkin. He would always wear his 3-piece suit, he would come in the morning and he had a sign that said, "Doctor is in." All day long there were no patients. In the evening he would put the sign out, says, "Doctor is out." And it was a little funny, but so then my father was sent out to get patients for him. So he would get patients, and so after some time, and my mother had to provide him breakfast every day. But he would always wear, he had these short pants he would wear, and he was a walker. He would, he was a mountaineer. So he would wear these long stockings, and he would be walking up and down on the streets of Dehra Dun, very athletic man. So you see him standing outside 29 Lytton Road. Now, as I mentioned to you, the women Mandli had to make things and sell them. Money made some puppets, and those were sold, and so on and so forth. So this was a Swiss doll that was made by Mani and Mera, and my mother bought this Swiss doll. It was handmade by them. It's a part of the archives now. So then, Baba's begging period was winding down. And did anybody have a question in between? This is an interactive session, so please feel free to ask.
How could that be a Swiss doll that was made in India?
The concept was there.
Oh,
So,
Which one did Dr. Duncan ever get patients so he could earn money?
not really. Yeah, because, I mean, this was, everything that Baba did. Then they all went to Delhi and they started a ghee business. Yeah, we won't go into that because that didn't work because they had to make it with 100% pure ghee. So it didn't work out. So then the begging phase that Baba was in was winding down. So my family, and this is the only time that I actively, I would say, participated in the new life, was that my father and mother were asked to prepare dal and rice, and the entire Meher Baba and his companions came from Majri Mafi. They walked to a dry riverbed called the Rispanar River. My father is standing there pointing to the spot. And we, that is my father, mother, my sister and I, we went in a tonga carrying food. And when we waited for Baba near this tree, and here was this gorgeous procession of Meher Baba and his companions wearing kafni and green turbans. My mother said that I have never ever seen a sight like this. It was God in human form walking towards me. It was so stunning, so beautiful, and Baba looked so radiant and gorgeous. And everybody was wearing, and Dr. Donkin was also wearing a green turban and the kafni. So she remembers it as one of the most, I don't remember this because I was a little boy, but I was there. So here's the picture of Meher Baba wearing a turban. So,
how many in the party?
beg pardon?
How many would have been in that party? In the caravan?
At that time, the women Mandli were not there, so there would be about 21 people, 22.
Yeah, and the kafni and the turban.
Yeah. Green turban and a kafni with their cholis, prem se bhiksha dijiye, and their little tumblers.
That turban looks white with something.
Beg pardon? Yeah, no, this is not the one that was worn at that time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show Baba wearing a turban.
Okay.
So then, it was arranged that Baba would get his bhiksha there. Then all of us went to Majri Mafi or Meher Mafi, and that was where, now the next picture shows Baba preparing to accept bhiksha. And then in this very iconic picture, you see my father giving bhiksha to Baba.
Wow.
My uncle Ilcha Mistry is in the middle. Irich Jasawala is behind Baba, and the other two people are Baidul and Kaka. So, this is a very popular picture, and all of you have seen it. It's very commonly distributed. So, this was the last time that Baba took Bhiksha from anyone.
Can you explain what Bhiksha is?
Okay, Bhiksha means alms. But in the new life, money was never given out. It was always food. And so food was given out. And in this case, food was given out. Now, there was one story that I missed out, and that was just before Baba was to come to Dehra Dun, a man knocks at my father's door one night and says, "I believe a party is going to come here." And my father had been given strict instructions never to let out that Baba was coming with his companions. My father felt very nervous. My father said, "No, there is no party here. What are you talking about?" He says, "No. There was this man who came in my vision and asked me to bring cartloads of food." Food? Cartloads? He says, "Yes, they're standing outside your door." And these were 4 or 5 cartloads of vegetables and ghee and butter and... So he says, No. He says, "No. This man has ordered me to come here." So, my father said, "No, there's no party coming here. There's no party here. There's no party." He closed the door and next morning when Baba came, the Baba asked him. I have the entire dialogue. Somebody recorded the entire dialogue between Baba and my father. So Baba turns to my father and says, "Any news?" So he said, "Yes, Baba, there is a headache." Now this was my father's exact words. "There is a headache." "What's the matter?" He says, "Baba, this man whose name is Todi Singh has come from all the way from Aligarh. He's a Sardar. He's come with his wife and 2 daughters, and he says that you came in a vision and told him to bring food." So Baba was all knowing. He didn't show any surprise. Ask him in. So he comes in and he says, "That man, he's the one who came in my vision and said I should bring the food." So Baba said, "So you brought all these vegetables, and who do you expect is going to cook these things?" He says, "Baba, I brought my wife and my 2 daughters. They're going to cook for you." So my father had to arrange them in an English lady's house called Pratt's Bungalow. So they were set up there in a kitchen and everything, and they provided the food every day. And the time came, I think they were there for a month or so, time came when Baba said, "Todi Singh, time for you to go home to Aligarh." Now this man was one of the most prominent ghee and butter manufacturers. He provided the raw products to Keventer. Keventer is one of the big English butter companies. So he went back to Aligarh with his family. But he said to himself, Baba is a very tricky person. Suppose he turns up at my door incognito and I don't recognize him. And he asks me for Bhiksha and I don't recognize him. So what he decided, he was a wealthy man, he decided that he would set up what is known as a langar. Now langar among the Sikhs is a place where they have food and anybody can walk in, not pay a penny, and they would be given food. Free of cost. Even now it exists everywhere. Even if you see a Sikh community here, you'll find a langar there. So he went there, he set up his langar, but gradually he left enough money for his family, but gradually all his money was gone. And he became literally a must. You asked him, Todi Singh, where are you going? Baba Jane, means Baba knows. Todi Singh, when are you coming? Baba Jane. And everybody would call him Baba Jane because that's all he would say. And so these are the places of devotion to Baba. So we come now we continue with the mission statement. Meher Baba, who love God purely for the sake of loving. Meher Baba wants us to love him because he's love, not in the spirit of bargain. I will love you if you fulfill my mundane desires. So this is a picture of Meher Baba in conversation in Dehra Dun. Now one person who preceded Baba was a man called Kaikobad. If you know, Kaikobad's two daughters used to live behind the tomb, who passed away some time back. Now Kaikobad was a very old, devoted disciple of Meher Baba, who was probably one of the few people in the world who saw all these, Baba perform all these miracles. And when Sant Kirpal Singh went to see Baba, he took him to Kaikobad and said, you know, Kirpal, I don't understand these things they say that I perform miracles. Speak to Kaikobad, perhaps you will understand him. So now Kaikobad had to repeat Baba's name something like 100,000 times a day or something. So when he came in 1953, when Baba came to Dehra Dun and stayed for a year, Kaikobad had a little hut-like place and he would sit outside and repeat Baba's name. So you see a part of him on the side here. So, who believe in the lovers of God. Now everyone we meet, anyone we meet, we don't have the attributes that everybody else has. I'm willing to learn every moment of my life. Somebody has the attribute of love, compassion, forgiveness. I'm willing to accept that. And that is what Baba inculcated in his companions. When you live with the lovers of God, you learn how to live, forgive, be tolerant, and above all, selfless. Selflessness was one of the attributes that Meher Baba inculcated among the various different people. Who believe in the reality of manifestation. But before I go into that, during his stay in Dehra Dun, he told the Hindu, one of the Hindu followers, I think it was Murli Kalema, to go and sit in a temple and repeat the name of Ram. And he sent Gani to a mosque to say the name of Allah. And he sent Duncan to a church to repeat the name of God. But there was no fire temple of the Zoroastrians, so we had a cemetery there, which we call Aramgarh. Now this is the cemetery, picture of the cemetery, and my father was asked to sit all night there and to repeat the name of Yazdan. Now my father was a devoted Baba lover, but he was also a Zoroastrian. So he kind of believed in these rites, rituals and ceremonies that go with the dead. And he had known that there was one Zoroastrian who had passed away and had been buried there without any ceremonies. His name was Botwala. So at the back of his mind, he thought that any moment the ghost of Botwala would come walking out at him. So he would keep repeating Yazdani. At around midnight or around 1 or 2 o'clock, he sees this figure walking towards him from a distance, and he says, he was saying, Yazdan, 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 Baba, Baba, Baba. Baba, Baba, and who's standing in front of him? Meher Baba. So Baba said, were you scared? He said, yes, Baba. Why? He said, Baba, Botwala was buried here without ceremonies, and I thought that his ghost would come at me. So Baba said, I'm there, don't worry. So then what Baba did was, and Baba went to the temple, the Hindu temple, and he said his prayers from the Ramayana. He went to the mosque and he said his prayers from the Quran. He went to the church and he said his prayers from the Bible. And then when he came to the Aramgah, this is the kasti, the actual kasti that Baba. So my father stood at one side, Baba stood on the other side. There was a picture of Zoroaster. There was a kasti there. This is called the kasti which Zoroastrians wear when they're baptized. I'm a bad Zoroastrian, so I don't wear it, but it was there. And Baba wore the kasti, put it round 7 times around Zoroaster's photograph and walked away. Now this kasti is in beloved archives. And then during his stay, this is just a fun photograph of Baba visiting the botanical gardens. So during his stay, we went to the botanical gardens, all of us. Baba took me, my sister, my family to see a 3D movie, which was very scary. You know, you'd wear those glasses. And then we went to the circus. So it was his methodology of dealing with his close disciples was he was bringing them closer and closer by the modus operandi was intimacy. So, Baba, as I mentioned to you this morning, he gave us the gift of conviction. And therefore it becomes incumbent on us, having been given this gift of conviction, and each one of us having stepped into the new life as a result of that conviction. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. You'd be on Santa Monica Boulevard driving around. But you are here, and that's because he's given you the gift of conviction. So now you don't have to seek anymore. You have already arrived. And as Meher Baba gave this analogy, he says, I'm twirling this umbrella, and what you need to do is, it's wet, there are drops on it. You are a little drop soul, try and stay closest to the center of the umbrella. If you're at the edge of the umbrella, the drops will fall. So then he goes, then the journey continues, and it continues on to Hardwar. So this is the Kumbh Mela, where he took my entire family to the Kumbh Mela. He took everybody there. And you will not believe it, but the Kumbh Mela is one of according to the Guinness Books of Records, it's the largest fair ever in the world. You're talking about millions upon millions of people gathered there to take a dip into the holy Ganges. And there are Mahatmas, yogis, swamis, gurus, all kinds of people. A lot of them are naked sadhus. So here is a picture of them, naked sadhus, walking in the Kumbh Mela. And you are not going to believe this, but Baba bowed down to 3,000 of these sadhus every single day. Every single day, 3,000 of them. And according to Dr. Ginde, who had examined his spine was, so heavily damaged as a result of his bowing down. So you saw this procession of people. So this is another picture of the procession of the sadhus. So Baba says in his mission, and do not expect any material or spiritual reward. Loving Baba unconditionally, relying solely on him. Those who lived with him sought to please him. And that is what at every step of the way, Irich and Mani and everybody said. All we lived to do was to please him. To love him and to please him. Who do not let go the hand of truth. Now what is truth? It means oneness, not separateness. Being true to ourselves and others. It's very easy to speak the untruth, because then we are able to give a different impression about what the truth really is when we speak the untruth. So this is during this period, this is the Kumbh Mela work. You can see the map. he starts off with, he goes to Rishikesh, Haridwar, all the way down, and the various different places he stayed. But I want to tell you about Motichur. Baba used to go to Motichur, and from Motichur, this was a place, he would go to Rishikesh, Haridwar. My father was asked to make a hut there for Baba to sit in seclusion. And again, my father and Keki, they said, both of them were asked to make this hut, and they were not the best with their hands, as I am not. So they had to remove the grass, make the hut, and they were given just one day. So they made the hut and they had to come back to their homes. So they boarded the train. At the end of the day, they made the hut. They were exhausted, absolutely. They were sitting, looking outside the window, and on the opposite platform, there was a man waving a lantern. It was Meher Baba, giving them the gift of gratitude. My father said, all my exhaustion went away with this gift.
By the way, that map is in the last issue of the book, that whole map.
Yes.
Of Dehra Dun.
Who, without being upset by calamities. Now, this is an issue that all of us face at some time in our life. Suffering, calamities come and go, but holding on to His Daman protects us, saves us. So my strong belief is that Meher Baba takes us to the very edge of the precipice, but never lets us fall off the precipice unless there is a need for Him to do so. Now I'll give you two little examples.
Great.
My uncle H.R. Mistry, who used to live in Shimla, in the mountains of Himachal Pradesh. And one day he was driving his jeep and it turned turtle many times over. And it was it was completely covered with snow. And he says that he felt a hand come and he fell in that hand. He brushed the snow, stood up, got into his jeep and went back. Went to Mirazad. He was constantly in Mirazad. He was one of Baba's Mandli in that sense. Baba called him his court jester. And fell at Baba's feet and said, Baba, you saved me. He said, no, it was your faith. Because the last words when he fell was Baba. He just uttered Baba's name as he rolled off the jeep. My father, now this is the second story. My father was a traveling salesman, and this was when Baba was in Dehra Dun. And he had to continue with his job, so he had to go to a place called Chakrata, which is at the border of China and India. I mean, if you had binoculars, you could see the Chinese guards over there. So he went to Chakrata one day on one of his selling trips. And as he was coming back, the entire bus that he was traveling in went over the edge and were teetering at the edge like this. Suddenly, out of nowhere, an English woman came up, got out of the car, got into the bus, steered it over, and people wanted to come out and thank her. She was nowhere to be found. And my father was desperately calling out to Baba for help. Again he came, rushed to Baba and fell at his feet. Baba said, no, it was your faith. It was nothing of my... Baba never ever accepted claims of miracles that people would thrust on him. So this was the house where Baba stayed at the edge of the river Ganges. It was Goyal's Hotel in Haridwar. And this, we were very fortunate to get a photograph of the room where Baba stayed. So this was in Haridwar. So I'm happy that I'm sharing these for the first time with all of you.
Woo, woo, woo. Yes.
Bravely and wholeheartedly face all hardships with 100% cheerfulness. So when Baba told me to be cheerful and not to worry, my mother would constantly be on my case, don't be garlic-faced. And that is why Baba says, You know, today, don't worry, be happy is on bumper stickers and pens and mugs and everywhere. But when Meher Baba said, don't worry, be happy, I will help you, he meant it. He meant it. And if you put all the worries, like one day my father and mother were sitting in Baba's presence and my mother wanted to say something but she couldn't. So Baba said, is there something you want to tell me? Baba sensed that right away. He says, yes, Baba. Keki, that's my father, he is a chronic worrier. He worries all the time. He worries about things that are nothing to be worried about. So Baba said, turns to my father and he says, if you are going to worry, why would I worry? Why would God worry? So if you put all your worries at God's feet, at my feet, then it's my job to worry, not your job to worry. But my father was a chronic worrier. So give no importance to caste, creed and religious ceremonies. Baba wants us to hold on to his Daman and his Daman alone, the reality, not the husk of religion. He wants us to hold on to the grain, not the husk of religion. When Meher Baba went to South India in 1954, to Andhra Pradesh, he turns to Erich and he says, I want to give them a message. And Erich was not prepared because Baba had not said he was going to give a message. So Baba tells the crowd, it is time that religion goes and God comes. Rites, rituals and ceremonies cover me. Pure love reveals me. And for those who know South India, it's completely bound by rites, rituals and ceremonies. In situations like this, the Mandli usually go around Baba. They protect him because they were afraid that these people would come and hit Baba. They did not expect that Baba would say this. So that was how important it was for Baba not to have rites, rituals and ceremonies. So, this new life will live by itself eternally, even if there is no one to live it. So what is my experience? When I came to the United States, I heard lots of stories about young people coming to Baba. They would narrate these stories to me. And I had spent a lifetime meeting Baba. None of these people had met Baba. But what did I feel and discover was that, especially among the young, who had all been through the drug subculture and so forth, that there was a definite shift in consciousness. And my belief is that the new life precipitated that. Baba gave us 3 prayers. These prayers help us awaken the love of God in our hearts as we praise Him, ask for forgiveness, and rely solely on Him by holding on to His Daman. Now I'm going towards the end of my presentation on the new life, but I wanted to show you some pictures. After this, Baba went to Hyderabad. He went to this cave called Khojagoda. He sat in seclusion there. This is the inside of the Khojagoda cave. And this last March, I had an opportunity of giving a talk in the Khojagoda cave, and you see me sitting there. Yeah. And this cave is up in the mountains. It's kind of a... Have you been there?
Yeah.
Yes, you have. And then there is a Hindu temple there, and there is a kind of a burial place of a saint called Fakhruddin, Dargah of Baba Fakhruddin. There's a Vishnu temple near the cave. And Baba stayed at this Castle Rock Hotel, so I have a picture of the hotel. But when he had this meeting, the no-walas and the yes-walas and the arrangement-walas were all invited to Hyderabad. And this is a group picture of all these people. And you see my father, can you see this? Standing over there in the corner. What's the light show up there?
What corner?
On the extreme left corner near the pillar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't show up here.
That's it.
This one.
Is this towards the end of the new life?
Beg your pardon?
This is towards the end of the new life?
It's gradually we are coming to the end of the new life, but
Like the end of 51.
yes. And then Baba had asked to be put inside the cave. Suddenly, with these models in the car, they rolled down the cave mountain. And it went, the car stopped, and Erich was aghast that all of them would be destroyed, but there was not a scratch.
It rolled backwards.
Beg pardon?
The car rolled backwards.
Rolled backwards. And these models are in Mirza. So then Baba and the companions headed towards the mosque, and headed towards Mehrabad. And they stopped at a place called Imampur. And many of you must have heard the story that they stopped at this place called Imampur, where Baba stopped for the night. And this was the exact spot where Baba slept. And he made a transgression. He asked, there were some visions there, and he asked Erich to throw these birds away out of where they were resting. And Erich did that. And Baba was very remorseful. He asked everybody.
He did not do that. No, he almost did.
He almost did that.
And he said, had you done that, all the work of the new life
Would have been washed away. So he did not do that, but Baba had each one of them hit him with his slippers. So this is the end of the new life phase when he had a meeting. And then he met in Mahabaleshwar for the last sermon, the sermon, which I won't go through. You can always read that sermon. But this is the end, the new life. So during the new life, he gave all these prayers, and I want to just show you the Master's prayer. The Master's prayer was dictated by Baba in Dehra Dun in 1953. It was typed up by my father, and the original is in Beloved Archives, as you can see. And then during our stay in Dehra Dun, anything that we did, if I sang to Baba, my sister sang to Baba, and I played the tabla, Baba would give us a gift. So he gave me a kaleidoscope, and at one stage he gave me this black doll. Now don't forget that he had just come from America, and he was carrying all these things. This is the picture of Keki Dastur. Now these are pictures of 1953. And this is my mother, Freiny with Baba, saying goodbye to Baba at the train station. These are all the Baba lovers at the Dehra Dun railway station. This is Baba near the compartment where he's about to enter. This is me sitting at Baba's feet at the 1962 East-West gathering. This was the first book, the first pamphlet that I put out.
Was that the story you're telling how people said Avatar Bear Baba?
Yes, that was the one. So this was a booklet that I printed called Meher Baba Vignettes, and Meher Baba signed the first copy and sent it back to me. And then this is a copy of In Lap of Love that Baba signed.
What years?
That was in 1966.
So he wasn't signing much at all then?
Yes. And then this is the first copy of the Globe. And that was a message given by Baba especially for the Globe. And this is the latest issue of the Globe. And this is the 52nd year of the Globe. So this is Baba's bed.
What year was that when the first globe came out?
February 1966. This is Baba's bed. The reason I have this because 40 days before Baba dropped his body, I met him in his room, sat on his bed, and he gave me instructions of what I should do for the rest of my life, or at least what job I should take up. And then this is Meher Baba in the tomb, and at the end of my presentation, I'll tell you what happened in the tomb when I went to see him lying in state in the tomb. But while Baba was in the new life, all this activity was going on, there was a tremendous amount of anti-Baba antagonism against Meher Baba going on in the rest of the country. It was being fueled by some of his former disciples like Keki Dastur, Keki Dastur in India, Meredith Starr in England, but the leader of the group was a man known as Colonel M.S. Iran. Now, this man was a fierce antagonist of Meher Baba. Fierce. He never met Meher Baba, but he wrote a series of articles called False Mystics I Have Met. I have known. So he did he traveled all over the country speaking against Meher Baba. He would write articles, all that. But to do this, he collected an enormous amount of material on Meher Baba. So who did he recruit? A man called Major Surab Bamji, my mother's uncle. So one day when we went to Bombay, we would visit him, my uncle, and the taboo word was Meher Baba. We never discussed Meher Baba with him. But on this occasion, one day he said, look, the colonel left this suitcase for me. Go ahead, I was going to throw this out, have a look if it's any use to you. This was a treasure house of original documents pertaining to Meher Baba's life. Very meticulously marked, very, very carefully. He was a very thorough man. And I'll show you this, which is not available anywhere in the world. What it is, it's the judgment paper about this man who had filed a suit against Shariar, and this he obtained from the judge who had given the judgment punishing Shariar. So this we have in the archives.
What was his business partner?
Beg your pardon?
That was his business partner? Is that
His
right?
business partner, that's right. I think I've narrated it a little bit in the book, The Beloved.
This is where his business partner swindled him?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So then of course,
I guess Baba was secretly under the table helping the government, giving financial help. And some man we thought, well, Baba is writing all this nonsense about opposition.
the interesting thing is that Colonel M.S. Irani's name is on the tower, in the tower that is going to come out. So then what happened is the Beloved archives began to grow. We decided.
Back up for a minute. Were you concerned with whatever was just said?
I didn't hear it very clearly.
Yeah, something about secretly financing.
He didn't hear it
this-
very clearly.
What
you said.
Yeah, what were you saying? And
What I was,
I'm curious
are you
about the
asking
accuracy of
me?
it.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I said, what, didn't Baba contribute financially to the work of the colonel?
Colonel.
Did Baba contribute financially to the work of Colonel M.S.?
Oh no, absolutely not.
That's what
Are
I
you
thought.
sure?
I'm absolutely certain.
That's why I wanted.
I'm absolutely certain.
You have heard that?
And I tell you why. And I tell you why that this statement is incorrect.
Okay.
What he did was, the colonel did was surreptitiously, he brought Bailey Irani, knowing that he was against Baba, told him he would give him 1,000 rupees which he needed for dirt on Meher Baba. And Bailey said, I had no dirt on Meher Baba. None. So he says, I'm sorry, I won't give you the 1,000 rupees. So and this was then conveyed to Baba. So it wasn't true. But then this picture that you see was taken by Raja Deen Dayal of the Sassoon Hospital in 1894. This is another interesting story where I met his great-great-granddaughter who had come to take help to mount her great-great-grandfather's exhibition in London, and I was working for Air India and I helped her mount the exhibition, and in exchange she gave me several pictures, photographs of Pune in 1894.
Wow.
Now, this was a photograph. This, again, there is a story behind it. This photograph was taken of Meher Baba in 1932 by R.L. Knight. And it appeared, a part of it appeared on the cover of The Perfect Master. But this photograph appeared in the frontispiece of a book called God is My Adventure by Rom Landau. So I contacted Rom Landau's family and they sent me material, they sent me photographs and all that. In that there was this picture smudged because all he wanted was to put Baba's face in it, not the rest of it. So what we do is, any of these pictures that come, at whatever expense, we restore them. And that's how it is restored. And now this photograph is in the centerpiece of Beloved Archives, because among the 6,000-7,000 photographs we have, this was the photograph that was seared in my memory as a young man when it appeared on The Perfect Master. Now, we also have a complete album of Meredith Starr's photographs taken in 1931-32. Now, who amongst you has good eyesight? Can you tell me where Meher Baba is? We have not touched up this picture.
I'll find the car, I'll find it for you.
Behind that white flash?
No. Okay.
He's in the car.
In the interest of time, Baba is sitting in the car. You have to come over to Beloved Archives and have a look at all the Yaga. So then when Baba came in 1953, he went to St. Dunstan's School in St. Dunstan's Blind School. Yeah. And Baba went, and he told my uncle, he said, how am I going to talk to them? So my uncle got this board made in Braille. And so this is also in Beloved Archives. This is a picture of Beloved Archives, the way it is now. It's at 116 Youngs Road. And this is the darshan room where all of us gather. This is that photograph that we restored. These two chairs that you see, Baba used these chairs in 1950 and 53. I had them transported from my mother's house to Beloved Archives. And we had a bit of a rough time with the customs because they thought these were antique chairs. Well, I mean, technically they were. But, and then this is a picture of our studio room. This photograph was taken when we first opened Beloved Archives. That's Henry Kashauti there. What we do is when we get all these documents, we don't rehouse them. We scan all the documents so that then the originals don't have to be touched. So we have over 100,000 documents and they're all scanned.
Wow.
All of them. So if you come to Beloved Archives, if you want to see something in 1932, all you do is you tap a few keys and you see them.
When will that be online?
Eventually, gradually, yeah. So these are documents being scanned. There was a man who was working for me at the United Nations, and I had him, he was a scan master, he scanned a number of documents. The Beloved Archives is a fairly large collection, close to 350 films, a lot of them donated by Pete Townsend and by the Sufis. And then the Oceanic, in fact, Pete Townsend donated everything that was in Meher Baba Oceanic to Beloved Archives. We went to Canada where he was, where the show what was the name of his show?
Tommy.
Tommy was being shown, and we met him there, and he gave us a suitcase full of material. So, and there were a large number of, hundreds of cassettes, original cassettes, and the sound is, he's very particular about sound, Pete. So the sound is perfect. And now, as I mentioned to you, they are being transcribed. So over a period of time, we have Meher Baba's hair in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and we've put them in vials. Now these vials were created for me by Moshe the Deuce. I had brought all my artifacts to the United States, and Lytton, who had a contact, so these would last for hundreds of years because they're seamless. So this is a beard, hair from Baba's beard in August 1935. That's in this vial. This is one of our most precious artifacts, and it's Hazrat Baba Jan's hair. So Hazrat Baba Jan's hair, quickly I'll tell you how we got it. What happened was that Padri wanted to collect one artifact from every perfect master. So he got them all. He got Sai Baba's chilam, Baba Jan's hair, and he got a pillow, I think, from Narayan Maharaj, and a gunny sack, a gunny bag from Upasti Maharaj. So he got all of these. And we have a letter from Padri in his handwriting about this. Then he decided, as he was getting older, that he would send these out to various different people. I don't know what he sent to Elizabeth Patterson, but he sent Baba Jan's hair to Pakistan. He sent it one to Iran, one to England, one to America, so he distributed them. So when I went in 1976 to Pakistan, Minu Kharas said, look, my children are not interested in Baba, although his daughter today is a very devout Baba lover, but he says, my children are not interested in Baba, you take Baba Jan's hair. So that's how we have this. And one of my other very precious items is a piece from Baba's Kamli coat that you see in the museum. That's Baba's Kamli coat. This was Meher Baba's coat that he wore in Europe in the 30s sometimes, and then later on it was worn again. But when he came to Dehra Dun, it was in 1950, I believe, 1950 or 53, that he called my father and he said, do you have warm clothes? Do you have a suit? Nice. My father very sheepishly said, no, Baba. So Baba told Mani to get his suit which we had worn in camp. And you see, this is his coat, this is his waistcoat, and this is his trouser. So my father, he wore it, since Baba had said you should wear it, he quickly wore it, and it was never worn again. And that's a part of Beloved Archives. Then among the many things that, when Pete went to India, since he was making Meher Baba Oceanic, people just loaded him with stuff. And then Mansari and Mani and Mehra and everybody just gave him stuff. And then of course it all came to Beloved Archives. Among the many things that Mansari gave him was Baba's flag, which was flown on Mehrabad Hill in 1958. And that's a part of the archives, Beloved Archives. Now what we do now is that, as a service to the Baba community, is now when Pete Townsend gave us Baba's pink coat, he gave it to us because the London Centre was under repairs and it wasn't safe, and they said we can't take it. So Pete just gave it to us. Then when they refurbished the centre, did it well, Pete said they're asking for it back. I said I'll be happy to give it, but I must restore the coat. Now what had happened is that Mehra had given him the coat, the pink coat, with a piece of paper which said, with love, Beloved Baba, and Mehra's name was there. Now he had not removed that slip. So when he brought the coat and gave it to me, there was a patch of that slip. When you picked up the slip, there was this white patch on this pink coat. So Beth Gans, who does most of her work, she did an astonishing job of it. and now it's the centerpiece of the London Centre.
Hey, Nash, those aren't the colors that Baba gave for the flag, so what about that being Baba's flag?
Well, this was the one that was flown. I know, the red is on top and the blue,
Look,
the blue
there's
is
no
on
part
top,
of blue
the red
there.
down below. But this was the code, this was the flag that was given. So what used to happen is that when these flags were flown, a local tailor in Mehrabad, in Ahmednagar would make them. And sometimes they would come close to the color, they would not come close to So this was the Meher Baba's pink jacket which was restored by Beloved Archives. And very recently, the Delaware group came to us and said, we have Baba's Sadra, and we would like it to be restored. Would you do it for us? We don't charge anyone to restore these things. So that was given to us, we restored it and we returned it to them, and now it's a part of them. So if any of you, or if you can pass the word around, if you have Baba artifacts, Baba's documents, Baba's photographs, and you want them preserved and shared and displayed, please contact me at meherbaba@aol.com, and we will be happy to either come and pick them up, or if it's, it can be, documents can be sent by FedEx. We bear the cost of everything. Yes, sir.
I'll offer the first one. Letter typed by Mani on onion skin paper.
Sure.
That after 30 years I opened it and the fragrance of rose just overwhelmed me. This is the 12 conditions when Alba wanted to come to the US in 1988. The Mandali said, oh God, help us. They sat down and they decided to discuss what Alba should do, what Alba should not do. So they made this 12-item list. That one of the things on the list is you should not somersault on the stage. This letter came to me 2 years ago, and it's beautiful. Alba, by the way, I was his companion for the 30 days in Myrtle Beach. He broke every rule of the 12.
So what we do,
I want to send it to you.
one of the ways we bring people in is to know more about Meher Baba is that 2 years back we published a book called Meditation for a New Humanity with a CD in the back, which is on sale here. We advertise meditation sessions based on Meher Baba's. Tomorrow we're going to conduct that in the morning, and you can ask me the difference between meditation that Buddhists do and Meher Baba oriented meditation. So this is the picture of me conducting a meditation session at the Beloved Archives. And then every summer, now on the 28th of this month, July, we have music programs with potluck. So you'll see singing at the Beloved, and these are our summer concerts. And then this is a picture of bhajans and artis that we have a very large group of people who perform. And we have a garden of the Beloved at the back of the archives. Now at the moment we don't have any space to display our garments and our artifacts and things. So what we're doing is we are looking for a larger space. So this is an overview of, we require about 3,500 square feet. And the new property that we visualize we would get is about 500,000. And we have additional expenses, so it would be about 550,000. The sale of our current property that you saw would be about $250,000. Again, all our approximations. As of June 31st, we have raised $90,000. So we need about roughly $200,000. And what I'm asking all of you is to rally around Beloved Archives, Baba-oriented, Baba-directed Beloved Archives, and help us with a new property that where we can not only rehouse our documents, but also display our documents. So I'm going to end this with just one story. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to put this picture at the end. I'm sorry about it, but I want to put this picture at the end of it.
That's all right.
Okay. January 31st, 1969. I was selected to join the Times of India as a reporter. I get a call in the morning, first day, my first job. I'm wearing a suit, I'm putting on my tie, very light suit, Bombay is very hot. I get a call in the morning. A friend of mine says, have you seen today's Times of India? I said, no. Just go right now and see it. I said, it's under the door. I pick up the Times of India. There's a picture of Meher Baba, and it says, Meher Baba found dead in a cave. There's a picture of Baba lying in state. Obviously, the reporter who was from Pune had not gone to Mehrabad, and he had seen all these blocks and figured it was a cave. And at that moment, I thanked her, put the phone down, and what came to my head at that moment, what am I going to do now? What will I do now? Baba is not there. Because everything that I did, everything, whether it was the Third World Religions Conference or anything at all, nothing was done without Baba's permission or approval. If my mother was not well, the cable would come and say, how are you? And my mother would say, she's not well. Have you forgotten your Baba that you're not letting us know? So everything was, our lives, my life was around Baba. And Baba had instructed me to join the Times of India. Very clearly. I didn't narrate that story. If during the question and answer tomorrow you want to ask any questions, please feel free. So, I go to the office. Remember, first day of my first job. I walk into my boss's office and I say, sir, I want to leave. He nearly falls off his chair. What? Today is your first day. I said, sir, do you see the newspaper which was lying on his table? My master has passed away. And in India they understand spiritual masters. He says, okay, so when will you go? When will you come? I said, sir, maybe a day or two. I have no idea, but I'm going to Ahmednagar, near Pune. He says, okay, go, but come back soon. Because then we had to, I was a cub reporter, so we had to start a training session. So I go there, and I had been to Merazad 40 days before Baba dropped his body and spent time with Baba, giving me several instructions of what I should do with my life, what I should do with the glow and so forth, which I didn't narrate to you. But Baba's last words to me, as I was stepping out of Baba's room was, my time has come. And then I went out and Baba called me back again to say my time has come. And a third time he called me back and said my time has come. And I said, yes, Baba. But I could not for the life of me understand what he meant. My time has come. So anyway, because I hadn't seen Merazad, so he instructed Erich to walk me around Merazad and so forth. But I had never been to Mehrabad. So when I take the train and I land at 11:30 at night at Ahmednagar station, the whole place is deserted. There's nothing there. There are no people. Ahmednagar is not the way it is today with trucks and buses and cars and so on, people. So there was a Tonga there, one horse carriage. I call the guy, I get into the Tonga, I said, take me to Meher Baba's place. Do you know Meher Baba's place? He said, yes sir, I know, it's on Don Manmad Road. I said, take me there. So here in this there were no street lights, pitch darkness. I'm walking. I'm going in the Tonga. Suddenly in the middle of nowhere he stops. Sir, this is Meher Baba's place. I said, where? He said, do you see the hill up there? It's up there. I said, really? I said, this can't be. Somebody's played a hoax. Baba can't be there. There'll be hundreds of people here. So, and then I get off. I'm wearing this thin suit. I'm shivering. It was one of the coldest nights. And I'm tripping over pebbles and rocks because there was no pathway up the hill. I'm walking up the hill. All I see is a small little flickering light on the parapet. You know, I don't know whether you've seen pictures of the old tomb, but it was just a sheer door. There was no awning or anything, and there were meditation cells with a parapet on the side. So there was a small little flickering light. So as I come closer, I see a bunch of villagers sitting with blankets on their heads. Well, one person was sitting with a quilt on his head. So he raises the quilt. It was Erich. So Erich says, oh, Naosherwan, you've come? I said, yes. He says, do you have a flashlight? I said, no. Here, take my flashlight, go inside the tomb and spend time with Baba before the crowds start coming. Go quickly. So I go in, I close the door, and I go down the steps. Baba's body is there. And I'm sitting there on the steps, putting the flashlight on Baba's face and thinking of every single incident that I have been through with Baba. Every single incident. And at every point thanking him. And then something comes into my head and I said, all this time, the sentence kept coming in my head, what will I do without him? What will I do without him? And I'm looking at his face and I said the Master's Prayer, Repentance Prayer, so forth. And I said, Baba, I want to do something for you. And what came in my head was to write his biography. Because there was no complete biography of Meher Baba. And that's when I took a decision that I would write his biography, and that was The Beloved. It took 2 years to write that book, but eventually it appeared. And so I was getting tired, I was getting exhausted. So I let my flashlight go limp, and then I again turned it on Baba's face, and his eyes opened and looked straight at me. And I again moved the flashlight away, and I again put it back. Baba's eyes were closed. But what happened at that moment was that thought, what will I do without him, completely vanished. And what Baba put in my head was, I'm always with you. I'm always with you. I'm always with you. And today, that's all I can share with you. That Meher Baba is always with you. Whatever circumstances you may be in, whatever difficulties, calamities you may be facing, he'll take you to the edge, but he'll never let you fall off the precipice. Unless it's a part of your destiny. It's a part of your sanskars. It's a part of your mental impressions. He pulls you back. And you won't even know that. But for that, you have to hold on to his daman with both hands firmly. Because he's given you the gift of conviction, it's your duty, essentially it's your right to hold on to his daman, to love him. But he's also given you a duty. What is that duty? The duty is to share Meher Baba's name with everyone you meet in life. This is something that I have been doing every single day of my life. The man who drove me on Thursday morning, the Uber driver, I told him entire Meher Baba's life in that entire trip to the airport. So what I do is, of course I have different methods of sharing it, but tell your fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, everyone, your children. It may take a long time for them to accept Meher Baba's divinity, but you become the catalysts. You become the apple Johnny seeds and you sow the seed of Meher Baba's love in their hearts. It might take them 20 years, it might take them 20 lifetimes, but you have done your bit. It's not between you and them. It's between you and Meher Baba. It's between them and Meher Baba. He will take care of them. So, all I have to say today is that Meher Baba, that when you remember Meher Baba, when you surrender to Meher Baba, when you think of Meher Baba, when you repeat his name, he is there with you, because Meher Baba is here and now. Avtar.